That's what luxury is. It's an internal feeling that only you can really define for yourself.
It is okay for you to say, I like nice things.
Yes.
It is okay for you to have expectations when it comes to your team.
Branding is an evolution. You change as the time changes, as you change.
Welcome to CEO Conversations, the private practice podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Mabra. This is your one-stop shop to learn the business side of your practice on a deeper level. On this show, we empower you to own your CEO status to scale your practice for growth, sustainability, and profit. Listen in as we talk about how to market your practice to gain more visibility, hire, build, and engage your ride or die dream team, create streamlined operations, and make financial decisions as a CEO. It's time to show up as a confident leader to create a practice and life you love. Let's get started. Hello. Welcome to another episode of CEO Conversations, the private practice podcast. I am so excited. I always say I'm so excited, but I really am so excited. We have an amazing guest today and someone who I have been so blessed to be able to work with and be able to feel her essence in all the ways. So
That was cute.
Lauren Michelle Jackson is here from Cultivate Your Essence. And so, Lauren, would you mind telling folks all about you and all the amazing things you got going on?
Sure. Okay. Well, my name is Lauren Michelle Jackson. I am a licensed clinical professional counselor. I'm a certified domestic violence professional. I am a coach. I am a consultant. I am a speaker. I am an author. So I like to say I'm all those fancy things to say I just really help people become the best versions of themselves. And I really love working with women just to kind of see their transformation over time, whether it's through a personal lens or professional lens. There's always a beginning, middle, and end, and I just help them complete their stories. So that is where I am. I am the owner of Cultivate Your Essence. We are a mental health private practice that are dedicated to working with women of color while prioritizing Black women's mental health.
Yes, I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
All the amazing things. And so you are here because we are talking all about branding.
Yes.
And more specifically, we're going to talk about luxury brands.
Okay.
Yes. And it's interesting because just to give a little bit of nuggets before the episodes, we were talking to Lauren about her website and her pictures and her pitch deck and all of the things. And the colors are popping and the photos are amazing. And I know that you specifically love talking about branding.
I do.
And it's something that you step into. I know even with the way that you work with your teams.
Yes.
You're very much on top of, is it in alignment with the brand?
Very
right?
much so, yes.
And I find that sometimes private practice owners, as amazing as they are, don't necessarily come with, isn't in alignment with the brand.
Yeah.
But you were surprised when we said luxury brand. But knowing you, you love luxury.
I do.
So it's not surprising.
It's not surprising, but it kind of was. I was like, oh, we are a luxury brand, huh? Oh, okay. Because when you think about luxury, I think like Chanel or Dior and things of that nature. And I'm like, I don't always feel like we're luxury, but yes, for how we present ourselves, yes,
Absolutely.
very much so.
Absolutely. So my number one question for you is, what is luxury to you?
It's just like that warm, ooey gooey side you feel when you step in, and it's like a beautiful experience, and like you're taken away by the way things look, the way things feel. And it's like a VIP status, but it's defined by whatever you figure out is luxury to you. Like I can go on a 5-star vacation, have butler service, all the other good stuff, which I did for the first time. It was wonderful. But then if I take my mom to somewhere, luxury for her is, we went to a nice restaurant and we spent $100. And it was kind of like, it's so night and day, but that's what luxury is. It's an internal feeling that only you can really define for yourself. And it's funny because I always say, like, I look at me and my mom. She exposed me to all these nice things, right? Okay. But then she'll look at like, when did you become so bougie? And I'm like, ma'am, I like to say like, I'm Regine and she's Regine's mom, except she's not tacky. But she exposed me to such nice things at such a young age that it just cultivated over time. So that became my norm From the colleges that I chose, from the way I dressed, from the different experiences I knew I wanted to have, luxury was always at the top priority. And it might not have always been the dollar amount, but again, it was how I felt from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying, and I can resonate with this because, I'm
Mhm.
a fellow, like I love luxury. It's
Yes.
all part of, yeah. So but it exhibits a feeling. It's a
Yes.
vibe. It's something where you walk into a space and you just feel like, I'm worthy of being here. I feel like
Yes.
$1,000,000. I feel
Mhm.
good. I feel comfortable. And
Mhm.
so I'm curious to know, how have you been able to build that in your brand?
I think it's just the core of who I am.
Mm.
And I just brought that into my brand. So before I had my practice, I had another brand because it definitely wasn't a business, but it was a brand. And it was women's empowerment. And from that standpoint, I always wanted to think about what did I want the people who came to my events or speaking engagements, what did I want them to feel leaving?
Mhm.
And so for me, I always think about sometimes when we think about luxury, it's not always accessible, but I want to normalize that for us, right? Especially for people of color. Sometimes we feel like it's so out of reach when in reality, it's not. You get to create and dictate what that luxury is for you. So every time I was thinking about cultivate your essence, one, God gave me that name. So I got to give him that. But for me, I always said I wanted my practice to feel like a mental wellness spa
Mhm.
where when you came in and you're talking to your therapist, you felt like that was your place of solace. That was a place where you got to lay your hair down. You can cry. You can be vulnerable. That was your safe space. And I wanted everything around it, even when we were seeing people in person. The way I decorated the room,
Mhm.
the colors that I used, the different like lighting we had, or even like the different essential oils that I had in there. I wanted you to have a specific feeling because coming to therapy is not easy.
Mm.
Being vulnerable is not easy. So why not we at least make the space someplace where you feel like I can just be and I can still take it in and then give you something to think about like I want to create this for myself when I leave therapy.
Mhm.
So that's probably how I came to it cuz I think branding is just so infused into me. It comes second nature to me. So when people are like, "Well, I don't know what to do." I'm like, "Girl, you could have did this, you could have did that, you could have did." It just comes natural to me. So, yeah, I hope I answered the question.
Yes, absolutely. No, what
Yeah.
I heard you saying is that it's the core of who you are.
Yes.
And so it was easy for you to, when you thought about your website, when you thought about your colors, when you thought about how you wanted people to feel when they come into the
Yeah.
practice, it's the core of who you are, right?
Yes.
And so I think that that's a powerful nugget of information for those who are listening. When you think about yourself as a person, because more times than not, especially in the beginning stages, and maybe you can resonate
Mhm.
with this,
Yeah.
is you're just looking for, well, this person looks successful, so let me go ahead and mimic what they're doing,
Yeah.
right? Compared to, who am I? What do I want to put out into the world? How do I want people to feel? And then being
Mhm.
okay with what that is.
Yes.
What I love about luxury and just almost like the contradiction when we're talking about healthcare and
Mm.
luxury,
Yeah.
sometimes it's not connected, but it's also a very powerful connection, which is why I wanted to talk to you because you've been able to land on something
Yeah.
that does motivate people. You said when
Mhm.
people come into your practice, you want people to leave inspired in order to go and create their own luxury feelings.
Yes.
So for the person who is trying to figure out, what do I want my brand to be? Was there
Mhm.
a process that you went through? Was there, for before you just picked out the beautiful colors that are on your website and the photography that you have, like
Yeah.
what was your process?
You don't have to spend a whole lot of money in the beginning. Work with what you're at and then build your way up. So for the first one, I was very clear on the colors that I wanted to provoke, like lavender, pinks, things of that nature. One, it's girly, it's feminine, so is that. But then also too, I'm very big on really taking into consideration what is the first thing you want them to feel when they look at your site,
Mhm.
right? Even down to the name. What do you want it to feel like? What do you want to invoke? And then also from that standpoint, work with a good team that can really help to elevate whatever it is that you have.
Mhm.
So for the first website, I think I was open for maybe 6 months and I was like, okay, look, I got $1,100. Let's make it work. And we kind of tussled a little bit because I had an idea and it wasn't coming through. But I was like, you know what? We're just going to work with what we have. And it was still at the core luxury for what I could afford. The first website I think was $1,100. The next one was $10,000.
Wow.
And I had to come. I was like, "Whoo, I got to swallow this." But because I know branding is everything, and honestly, I can get my therapist booked off their headshots alone before we can get them anything else, before they even read the bio. I made the decision to take the investment and said, "Hey, here it is." Because I'm really big on if you pay for it now, you're not going to have to pay for it on the back end. So from that standpoint, I talked to her about what I wanted my brand to look like and feel like. And then she presented me with 3 different options. And that was how we got to the brand colors, how we got to the feel of it. Even she directed me on like, this is what I want you to wear. These are the photographers that I like that could go with the brand and things of that nature. Because the more you kind of get into it, even if you notice how from my first website to how it is, it was an evolution. And I think that's what people need to realize. Branding is an evolution. You change as the time changes, as you change. So from that standpoint, get people that get you, that are within your budget, and recognize you can always change down the line. You're not hell bent to just one concept. But then also, again, really think about who you are at your core. What are you cultivating? And then how do you build from there?
Yeah. You cultivate your essence.
Yes. I try to put her in everything I do. Yes. Cultivate this, cultivate that. Yes.
So it sounds like you had an amazing team, an amazing resource that allowed for you to pick and choose what you wanted things to look like.
Yes.
I'm curious to know how this connects with your team. So you talked about your team has headshots. That definitely helps sell the brand. So is there a certain way, like how do you incorporate your team for them to be in alignment with your brand? I think that's the question.
That was a process, especially when they come in and they see the website. And of course, they're like, oh my God, we have to work here. And then I'm like, okay, well, let me ask you in the interview. This is everything that we do to incorporate that. Does that fall into alignment? Now, sometimes people are, of course, because they just want the job, they're going to say, okay, yeah, of course. Then when you're in it and then you put requirements down, it becomes a tussle. I tell them up front, that is a non-negotiable. We do content days. We do marketing days. You do need to have your makeup done, and I'm going to choose the makeup artist. I'm not going to make you look any differently than what you normally are. I need a polished look because I'm not willing to compromise on my brand aesthetic. And so from that standpoint, like we have like a team member who's really good at like styling and mental health. So I have her go in and style the girls and we talk about those things. And sometimes, again, it is a tussle because, again, when people are following into your company, you have to set the tone of what you expect. And so a lot of my team members will say, now, she's really flexible on a lot of things. Please don't play with her when it comes to that part. Like, they know, because I'm just like, I was like, you thought that was appropriate to her? Lord, I know, but I did it. Okay, we're going to change this because, again, I know what sells. And so for me, I'm always trying to go back into brand yourself. Even though you're working at Cultivate Your Essence, there is a platform that we can give you to help even brand yourself, right? Because I'm not here just to make myself look good. I want you all to have those same opportunities. So I try to slowly but forcefully really talk about how can you stand apart? How can you get the clientele you want? How is what you're doing now helping you or hindering you? Okay, now let's put together a strategy behind it. I have some people on the team where ultimately they left. It was too much. And I get that. And I'm okay with that. But then a lot of the ones that do stay, even if they've left down the line, they can see, ooh, okay. Yeah, let me take that into consideration. When I'm doing a speaking engagement, this is how it needs to be. Like I just had one of my girls who used to work for me. And I was scrolling on social media and she just got her clinical license and all it had was her name. And I was like, let me send you a quick text. Excuse me, you worked hard for your credentials. It needs to say your full name and the credentials behind it because now you're establishing yourself as a brand authority. So for what you're doing, make sure all of your credentials. She was like, I thought about that and I knew you were going to text me and I was going to reach out. I was like, of course, because I need you to own who you are because, again, that's how you're going to show up and that's how you're going to be received.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I try to very much so in the beginning let them know, hey, this is the expectation. This is what we do. I don't think they always fully recognize until they come on board. Now, majority of them, I will say, fall in alignment because this is new for them. They never had a professional headshot and everything. And I always say, even with a headshot, everybody, I don't care what you do, everybody should have a professional headshot.
Absolutely.
You should. You never know where your opportunity is going to come. So if somebody said from a Fortune 500 company, hey, we need your buy in it. That's a quick 2-second text message I can send you real quick. So it's always just being prepared for anything that might come.
You have to be prepared for what you're asking for. And so you have to be ready. You have to be in a position of just expecting it.
Yes.
And so what I love of what you're saying is that ultimately when people come in and they're working for your practice, there is a expectation for how you're going to present yourself. There is a level of professionality that has to happen. And this is the company culture.
Yes.
And for those who are in alignment with the company culture, those who are in alignment with the mission and vision that you have, great. And for those who are not on board, it's okay.
It is.
It is okay. And there's going to be somebody who's going to step in your place. And we've all been given the purpose that we're meant to have. So I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to team members or when it comes to hiring or when it comes to having expectations, some folks aren't as brave to say, this is what the expectation is, this is what the boundary is, and this is how we're going to show up, and almost wane. And it also makes me think about, there was a practice that I worked with, and it was post private equity. And all of the headshots, whether they had a professional headshot, they didn't have a professional headshot, it was our marketing director. It had nothing to do with this, so I do not recommend this.
Right.
But it was the marketing director that would take the pictures of each provider. So literally on the website are like Polaroids and just different family photos, like where you can see it was like a snippet, or maybe the marketing director, because we had like 20 plus locations, couldn't get out to that location. So they just submitted something. And the second that the actual branding took place, it was like night and day.
Yeah.
So to hear you say, like, I'm making an investment in my team and I'm making an investment in how they show up, then it is powerful. And honestly, like a lot of luxury practices, when you think about luxury spas, when you think about high level services, they're on point with whether if it's their uniform that they wear, whether it's how they present themselves, whether if it's when you walk in, like we just had our retreat in LA, there was like a scent in the air of the hotel, like all of those things are branding. And it's more than just the website, which is what I love too. It's how your team carries yourself. It's the website that you have. It's the people who are coming in the door, and it all exhibits a feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are some of the, like you said that when you see people or you see their brands, you're able to say, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this.
Yeah.
Give me an example.
So I have one, she's like my mentee. She was my first intern when I was working in healthcare. And I was looking at her, I was like, you're stylish. You know your stuff. You connect well with teens. You do well actually with young adults as well. But she couldn't see herself past working with elementary school kids. And I'm like, okay. So now it was kind of like every time now when opportunities come, I force her to speak. And she's always like, I don't think da-da-da. I was like, no, you're going to do it. And sometimes it's just a matter of like, no, this isn't even an option for you. This is what you're going to do. And the more you kind of push and push and push, she was just like, oh, I have ideas for this. Oh, I have ideas. Okay, great. Let's nurture it. So from that standpoint, like we were able to create an event for her where it's mental health and style, mind your style.
Ooh, that's sexy.
Yeah. Because a lot of times, let's think about it, especially because we incorporated a part of our practice for coaching for Black women for dating. How do you want to look when you actually are showing up? What is your clothing saying about you when you're coming into an interview? I had one person who interviewed with us and I was like, what are you wearing? And that kind of, I was like, if you saw our website and everything else, I don't care if this is virtual. Why would you show up that way, right? But again, What was your mindset prior to you getting to that standpoint, right? So it's taking the psychology behind how are you showing up in the world and how does that reflect in your clothes? Again, even if you don't have a lot of money, you can thrift and still make something look
Oh,
really cute,
absolutely.
right? So it was really kind of nurturing Lallar to be like, okay, from that standpoint, how can you incorporate a curriculum? Who is your target audience? How can we support you from that standpoint? Because I was like, girl, you're a part of a sorority. That's your
Yeah.
girl, just market to them. And they got people and they got people. And that was the one thing I always tell my team. I'm like, you don't realize how powerful your network is. Like, what are the stages of separation? Contact them. I promise you, they'll contact somebody else and then they'll contact somebody else. I got my practice together off of me just marketing myself on social media. Every time I went into when I was working for other private practices, I'm so excited. I'm seeing 5 clients today. Ooh, you know what? You need to see a therapist too. Hit me up at da 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 da. Something simple, because I think a lot of times people overthink and that will stop them from even trying. And I'm like, let's start from the basics. What do you enjoy? What is fun? What's something that you can do that's easy for you and it's nothing? Lalari was easy. Fashion, travel. Great. Okay, so we're going to start with the fashion group. Maybe next time we can do a luxury travel group. You don't know, but you got to start somewhere. So, and anytime I'm interviewing, I ask specific questions that I know sometimes my CEO will be like, I don't know where she's going with this, but I'm just going to let her go. And I'm asking specific questions as they're sharing like what their expertise is and things of that nature. Because even if I choose not to hire you, I just want to leave you with a nugget like, oh, girl, you know you could put that together with that, right? And then create a whole nother event for, I never would have thought about, yeah, take that. That's free. You got it. I'm not even going to charge you a consulting fee. You got it. Like, you got it. Because a lot of times, again, we're sitting on gold mines that we just don't realize. If you just take the time, again, it doesn't have to be perfect out the gate, but start it and build upon it. Like, that's second nature for me. Like, I went to Hampton University. Everything is about polish, poise, come correct, always be a step forward. And our motto is the standard of excellence. So that I think is always in the back of my mind. What is considered excellent and how can I show up excellent in this moment? And I have to see that in my different team members or even with people I want to interact with. How can we do that? Because my makeup artist and everything else, I'll be like, you know, you could do da-da-da-da-da. You know, you could do, and they'll be like, okay, Lauren, shut up. I can see all the different avenues. And even still, when it comes down even to a name of how you're going to name it, it matters.
But I know that you actually work with other private practice owners on their branding too. So can you explain like what's your process when you go through this with them?
I really ask them, okay, what's your brand? And a lot of times they'd be like, what's the brand? I'm like, oh God, okay. So we talk about what's the name? How did you come up with it? What's your goal? What's your niche? Do you even have a niche? What are some of the things that if you really could just say, I want to create this tomorrow, what is that? Right? So then from that standpoint, we talk about the services and the support. Okay. From that standpoint, who's helping you? What are you willing to invest? What are you willing to sacrifice? And then we kind of go down a rabbit hole of all those different things, right? Because I always try to go back to cultivate your essence, cultivate the brand that you want, own your niche, own your audience, own your market. And then also, too, for the essence part, be bold, be authentic, and be you, because that is what they're buying. I think a lot of times people think I need to present a certain way. People buy into authenticity, especially right now because everybody is craving some type of connection. And that really got exposed during COVID. The more authentic you are, the easier it is for you to find your audience. I don't even care. Let's say you only got 500 followers. If those 500 followers are really engaging with you, the other stuff really doesn't matter. All the other stuff will come, the brand deals, all this other good, fine. But cultivate where you're at first and build from that standpoint. So a lot of times, like I'll do like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I actually did this with my COO. She was doing virtual admin, which is great. She had experience as a clinical director, not a clinical, but an office director for running other private practices because she's not a therapist. We were just looking at, I was like, what's the name of your, she was like, Nucleus Group. I said, okay, great. What is the reasoning behind it? She was like, because we're the nucleus of everybody we work. Exactly. Okay, great. So what are the services you provide? Just admin thing. No, let's think about this. Because I was looking at the work that she did for my practice. I was like, first of all, you taught me things I didn't know. Like, I didn't know about aging reports. I didn't know about, oh, God, we didn't get paid all this time. You call those things. Oh, you actually care about my team and how the operations go. Oh, my. It was all these different things. And I'm like, girl, you're doing COO work. This is just more than office admin thing. She was like, I never would have thought about that, right? And it was just because she poured so much into me. I'm like, I can do this for you. And I didn't charge her. It was like, I can do this for you. And now she has it where she has virtual assistants that just do the bare minimums of admin. Then she created billing departments. Then she created other COOs to work underneath her to fill a virtual COO. Then if they want to work with her, they have to pay a specific price, because I'm really big on price points. This is the price point it needs to be to work with you, right? These are some just walking through, and a lot of it is brainstorming in the first part. And then after we brainstorm, let's get to the nitty gritty of what it is that you do. Because I'm always big on, especially for Black women, get paid what you're worth. Absolutely. And don't get scared in charging what you're going to charge. Because a lot of times we want to just do things from the heart. Why? Yeah. They would have paid somebody else to do that. Like, come on. Like, you can't be afraid to charge it. If somebody's going to say no, that's fine. We've heard no. Get comfortable with no. Like, I have to tell myself a lot of times, I keep hearing no. Girl, no is not going to kill you. Because when you hear the yes and they actually pay, you're going to be like, ooh, should have charged a little bit more for that one. But again, that's kind of just what my process is. It really, and I recognize for me, you have to be ready to work with me because I'm so passionate about it. And my team will say, you're pushy in a good way, but you're pushy. And it's like, when I see the greatness in you, I can't just let you just do anything. Yeah, you got to show up fully as yourself because I want you to be received in the way that I see you. And maybe it's a confidence thing that we got to work your way up to. But there's always a light in all of us. You just need the right people to help cultivate it a little bit more. You don't always hear me say cultivate, but yes, you just needed a little bit more to cultivate. And even if you think about just the word cultivate, right? I always think about the seed that's in the ground, tending to the soil, making sure the climate is right for it. Those are all the different gifts we all have. Those are all the different products, ideas. You just got to cultivate it a little bit and recognize it's going to come down the line. Because, of course, the 20-year-old me was like, I just want to be successful. The 38-year-old me is like, oh, God, I would go back to 20 in a heartbeat sometimes because it was so much easier. But, again, it's surrendering to the process of what is your definition of excellence. And when you're working with me, I'm going to push you to whatever that excellence is. It is what it is. You just got to be willing to put that investment in.
Absolutely. It's an investment in you as a person. It's an investment for the work that you're putting out in the world. And it's really fun on the other side of it where you start to get results, where you start to see like, oh, I got a 6-pack. Yes. You know what I mean? Like those types of things.
Yes. Can't wait.
So I'm curious to know when it comes to team, because you said like we have marketing and content days. And a lot of times people miss that mark of marketing and content days, or the owner. And you know, you've seen this even inside private practice CEO, where the owner will take on all the marketing. I have to do all of it. I'm going to go out and be in the trench. I'm going to do all of it. And they forget about the impact that their providers can have. So explain to me a little bit about your content days and your marketing and what you have your team do.
I was working with my, I would say my brand strategist for my own personal branding, right? And so we would come up with like the different ideas of how I wanted to like do different reels, do different content, things that I wanted to speak about just to promote myself. So then after I started doing like this monthly content, I had my photographer / videographer. It was my social media manager and my makeup artist. And it was like, we'll just go to town. So, and my social media manager was also my stylist. So she made sure all the clothing went with each look. From that standpoint, I was like, oh, let me start to invest this again into my practice. So again, I took the money from that good old COVID loan and I reinvested it into that. So when we were starting to work with the team, we came up with the look. We thought about the different topics, right? So as the social media manager, me and her are meeting. We're going to meet for the quarter. What are the different things that are going on in the month? What is each therapist's specialty? Here are the questions that that the social media manager came up with, because I don't have time to do all those things. And half the time she's using Chat GPT to help her generate ideas. So then we're like, okay, so we have that. So now when we're coming into content day, I already have the makeup artist there.
Mm-hmm.
They're familiar with the questions that they're going to be asked.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to do like some fun, silly reels that are just, good for just, what do we call it? Camouflaging content. But at the core of it, it really is showcasing each team member for what their specialty is, right? So a lot of times I'll try to come in and lighten the mood and just be like a cheerleader, but I'm letting the social media manager really run the entire day, right? Sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle because I can see the fear as soon as the camera shows up. And some of my staff members, they're easy. Other people, it might be, no, this is my anxiety showing up. So then when I kind of see the social media manager really probably isn't picking up on the cues, and again, she's not a therapist, so she's not going to really know how to work with it. I come in and I just talk to them like it's a conversation, like how we're doing right now, right? And then once you kind of get them in the flow, they're good to go. So then it's kind of like, okay, great. And then after a while, once they kind of see it, they're catching their stride. They become a little bit more confident. They show up. So now that's all the content. Great. So now I'm giving that stuff to my social media manager to prioritize, to be able to schedule it and do it like for Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. The problem that we were having was staff members will look at the pictures and they'll put it up for their new Facebook. That was not what I invested this in, right? Yeah. So now this year, I really made it a standard where you have to post at least twice a week, and it's in their contract, and tag the practice to it, right? And again, you can repost the stuff that we've already have. We have the headshots. You have a graphic that says, hey, accepting new clients. All you got to do is say, hey, I'm such and such. This is my specialty. You can reach me at da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Here's the phone number, cultivateyouressence.com. That's it. Because I recognize, no, you're not here to be a social media influencer. I recognize this comes naturally for me. However, I can only do so much to promote my practice. If I open up my books will get booked. You are looking to get more clients. So now let's start to reinvest. They'll be like, I want more clients. What have you done to market yourself? And now we're having these honest conversations where they're like, okay, let me at least try. And I can deal with, even if the content is not looking up to par for how I would like it, I just need you to start. Yeah. So now we have more people taking more interest. And it was so funny because this one therapist was like, I didn't know people didn't know I was a therapist. How would they know? If you really look at your content, how would they know? If you look at my personal and everything else, yes, you're going to see me having fun. You're going to see me traveling, all these other things. But at the core, they're always going to know Lauren's a therapist. So if you go on Facebook, every time, especially in Illinois or Chicago, they'll be like, well, I need a Black therapist. Cultivate Your Essence is always tagged. So now as the time comes up, they recognize, okay, this is what's expected. This is how I have to participate. This is how I show up. Hey, can I run an idea about you? Sure can. Come on. Because I really want to build their confidence into just doing things more consistently. And with one of them, she even said, my personal page is not appropriate. So I'll create a professional page. If you want to create a separation, that's fine. But don't forget about the people you already know. Yeah. Send a text message out. Send out a business card. Send out a flyer, something. Because again, you have to be a part of this if you really want to see the end result. For them, it's getting more clients. For us, it's brand awareness and also getting the right partnerships for us. So allow them to try without you being there. Right. Because again, the brand messaging is luxury. Now that I can say that now, luxury. So, don't be afraid to invest in the team, because that whole solopreneur, I don't care if it is just you and your practice. It's not meant for you to do everything on your own. That's a quick way to burn out and say you want to quit, which I don't blame you, because that's a lot of work to do.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true private practice CEO.
Ooh, goodness gracious. Learned a lot, child. 6 years and counting. Goodness gracious.
Yes. No, so what I hear in the message to get across is okay for you to claim luxury. It
Mhm.
is okay for you to say, I like nice things.
Yes.
It is okay for you to have expectations when it comes to your team. It is okay to have your hard stops. And it is okay to meet your team where they are, but also give them the tools, be patient, empower them in order to help them in their journey.
Yeah.
And then make sure that you are outlining the big things that you need for them to do, like your non-negotiables, in your contract.
Yes. Like I had my lawyer and my HR director looking at that contract so many times. I was like, oh God, how can we word this? How can we word this? And they came up with the perfect wording. Because you're always going to have a few that say they're going to do it and then when they don't.
Absolutely.
And so now it's kind of just like, okay, it's stretching me as a practice owner because I'm like, no, now I have to reinforce the boundary. And if that is where your stance is, okay, fine. Maybe we're at a hard stop here. And that's okay. But again, I set the tone from when they fill out the application to the interviews to after they get the job. This is the expectation.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. But you're going to love it in the long run. It's going to help you. But, you know, the business cards, the website, a lot of times you take out half the work in trying to sell your stuff if you just actually invest in the front end.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, branding is crucial. And every practice owner needs to take that into consideration. Before you even hire your first therapist, take some time, and it's slow. Take some time to think about what do you want your practice to be, feel, and look, and the messaging behind that. And be okay with it's going to start off one way, it will evolve down the line.
Yeah, especially as you get more opportunities, make more money, and then it's like, what's next too?
Yeah, and as you change.
It has to be connection of what does this brand represent?
Yep.
The price point is part of that. The feel that you have when you look at it. Like all of those things become important too.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah. All right. So Lauren, I am curious, last question.
Yes.
So you said I've been in practice for 6 years. I know that you are part of Private Practice CEO.
Yes.
And there's a lot of private practice owners that are listening. Do you have, just from colleague to colleague, peer to peer, do you have any nuggets of wisdom that you want to share with them?
First of all, join the academy. She'll get you together. Shameless plug that she did not ask for me to give. First of all, that first session that me and Brandy had, I needed a day just to kind of regroup because I was like, oh my God. But we got our systems in order that next time I talked to my friend, I was like, I did da-da-da-da-da. And she was like, you did all of that in the last time we talked? I said, girl, I hit the ground running. So shameless plug, you should join if you are a practice owner. One thing I will say, you're going to have a season where you're going to question, like, is this worth it? I am currently in that season, to be honest with you. I love what I do. I've been candid with Brandy. I have thought about going back and getting a job. I was never going to leave my practice, but for the past 5 years, we've had our hurdles, but it was nothing to get back into it. This 6th year, I was like, oh my God, I feel like everything that could happen has happened. But what I will say is the right community, the right people on your team makes such a difference. And I am very religious in the sense that God gave you a vision and he gave you the practice for a reason. Don't abandon it just because things have gotten hard. It's business. And I think one of the hardest lessons that us as private practice owners got was we had that sweet COVID bubble where we were exploding left and right with patients and clients and opportunities. And then the bubble popped. And then you had to actually become a real business owner to where you have to go with the ebbs and flows. Stick with the ebbs and flows. Make adjustments as needed. But recognize you have the ability to withstand. The storms are going to come. That's fine. You can make it to the other side. Make the adjustments and pivots as they come. Because sometimes I think we try to ram what we've been doing for so long into the ground. It's kind of like, is that working anymore? Right? We teach our clients, yeah, you have a toolbox for a reason. Every tool is not meant for every situation. Use your tools. And so now I'm just in a position where I'm kind of learning my tools. I'm readjusting. I'm incorporating. I'm letting go of some things. I'm reintroducing some new things. But I think that's the biggest thing. withstand the different storms that are going to come, because I promise you they're worth it in the end. But make sure you have your community that when you need to cry, you can cry. Like, it's been a few sessions where I've come to Brandy, I'm just like crying for half the session, and then we get to actual strategy. Stay connected to who you are at your core. Stay connected to who your higher power is. Stay connected to your community. That is the people that really, really pour into you when you need them most.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And be able to know who to show up vulnerable with. But that, I think, is my biggest takeaway, because I think all of us, especially this year, I've been noticing everybody is dealing with something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Everybody is like this 2020 decade. I feel like we're all getting clear vision, and not in the way we thought we were going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So community is everything, and utilize them and know who you can go to for what. That is the biggest takeaway I can always say.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you're not meant to do this work alone.
No.
And God will definitely give you the resources that you need in the people and in the finances and everything, if you are following his path and his will, and definitely putting yourself in those spaces and being open to what and being honest.
Yeah. And listen to the people who know more than you.
Yeah.
You don't. As a CEO, you do not know everything. You don't. So listen to those people, part of your community. If you trust them, listen. Yeah. Absolutely. So those are the biggest takeaways I can say.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you for having me. Today was fun.
Yes. So for those who want to find you and connect with you, and it's like, I've seen Lauren's website. I want to do marketing days and content days and get my, yes. Mm-hmm. Where can they find you?
Yes. So you can always go to www.cultivateyouressence.com. You can reach out at 708-654-1929, or you can follow us on Cultivate Your Essence on Instagram. You can follow me personally at Look Out for Lauren, or Lauren Michelle Jackson on Facebook and on LinkedIn. But also, too, if you want to work with me, go to lookoutforlauren.com and you can book a strategy session with me, and we can create something special to help you get your branding, and even just some coaching around support if you're transitioning into private practice, because Lord knows I have a lot of experience that I can give to you. But that is all the different ways that you can follow me and my practice, Cultivate Your Essence, and Look Out for Lauren.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
All right, I will see you guys next time. Bye. Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the episode and it empowers you as the CEO of your practice. If you enjoyed the podcast, please make sure you subscribe, share the message, and leave a review. If you want more information and support in growing and scaling your practice, click the link in the show notes to take advantage of our free resources or apply to work with me directly. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.